The Titans' chances to win the AFC South have taken a severe blow. My name is Joe Dolan, and this is the Fantasy Points Daily Lineup for Thursday, December 22nd, 2022.
It's time for the FantasyPoints.com Daily Lineup. Staying on top of the latest news and updates around the NFL. Rise and shine, folks. We're taking the field. Here's your host, FantasyPoints.com's Joe Dolan.
Starting at quarterback for Tennessee in Week 16 and potentially beyond is rookie Malik Willis. Veteran Ryan Tannehill didn't practice on Tuesday or Wednesday, and according to Paul Kaharski, longtime Titans beat writer, the quarterback could need surgery on his ankle, which would end his season. NFL Network's Ian Rappaport originally said that it will be an uphill battle for Tannehill to suit up in Week 16 against the Texans. Now, while that's a winnable game for the Titans, even with rookie Malik Willis at quarterback, the Texans have been frisky the last 2 weeks against the Cowboys and the Chiefs, far superior opponents. And beyond that, the Titans have much tougher games with the Cowboys and Jaguars, the last potentially for the division title, left in their season. In his 2 starts this year, Willis has completed a total of 11 passes for 135 yards. That's total. Really, that's it. The entire Titan offense will be the run game. Derrick Henry made himself another Pro Bowl, and of course, Willis is mobile as well. But if you want a comparison for what this offense looks like with Malik Willis at quarterback, it's like if Justin Fields were playing as badly as he did earlier in the season, with less experience and probably less explosive talent. That's what it looks like for Malik Willis right now. It is not pretty for the Titans. In our first running back spot today, it's uncertain we'll have Kenneth Walker this weekend. Walker was a little sore, quote, that was a direct quote, after last Thursday's game, which was his return from an ankle injury, according to Coach Pete Carroll. And now Walker has missed practices in back-to-back days, which seriously calls his status for Saturday's game against the Chiefs into doubt. It is notable that the Seahawks re-signed veteran Wayne Gallman to the practice squad as well, so we'll have to monitor this situation further, but back-to-back DNPs, not great for Walker. Now, again, as I mentioned on yesterday's program, Walker had one of those games last week when if you started him, you're not too upset. If you didn't start him, you're not too upset because he had 11.9 fantasy points. He wasn't limited at all with a 75% snap share, and maybe the Seahawks should have limited him, though. By the way, DJ Dallas returned to practice from his ankle injury, so he is potentially trending towards playing. But with the Seahawks' heavy road underdogs against the Chiefs, Travis Homer, I know he burned people last time, but as the passing down back, might be the better play if Walker sits. Another running back with no practice so far this week is the Browns' Nick Chubb. Now, according to the AP's Tom Withers, the Browns remain optimistic that Chubb will be able to play through a foot injury against the Saints this week. But the ground game will be very important whether or not he does. Why? Because the weather is projected to be absolutely frigid on Lake Erie. Potential bomb cyclone conditions. Jim Cantori taught me that one. It's got winds. The total in this game currently sits at 32.5. For those of you who are familiar with college football, that is Iowa versus Rutgers level total. Sorry, Canis. That's bad. It's low. The passing game is probably going to be non-existent. Nick Chubb, if he plays, is going to get the ball. If he doesn't, Kareem Hunt is firmly on the RB2 radar. That's a name we haven't said a whole lot about this year. Let's stick with the same game for our wide receiver 1 spot, as a matter of fact. Chris Olave from the Saints. He's missed back-to-back practices with a hamstring injury, throwing his status for Week 16 into doubt. And again, the weather in this contest, potentially hugely problematic for the passing game. And Olave could well catch a shadow from Denzel Ward, further complicating matters, even if he did play. So really, this is kind of a good tiebreaker. If I have Olave in a question with somebody, I'm probably just going to go with the other guy. So if Olave doesn't play because of the weather, it's hard to simply plug and play somebody like a Jarvis Landry or a Rashid Shaheed, who I've been getting questions about. Juwan Johnson, the young tight end, might actually be the biggest beneficiary. Johnson has reeled off 12-plus fantasy points 4 times in a 5-game span. Oh, he did do that, before injuring his ankle in week 12 and missing the next game against the Buccaneers. The Saints went on bye in week 14, and then he returned to the lineup this past week and exploded for his second game with 2 touchdowns in a victory over the Falcons. Johnson had 67 yards and 2 touchdowns on 4 catches on 6 targets, which was a 32% target share, by the way, for a season-high 22.7 fantasy points on a 51% snap share in week 15 against the Falcons, which now gives him 12-plus fantasy points in 5 of his last 6 healthy contests. He's also now scored in 5 of his last 7 games, so he's easier to trust even with Adam Troutman and Taysom Hill still getting snaps. Johnson and Andy Dalton are vibing together with 7 touchdown connections since week 7. So that might be the biggest beneficiary if Olave can't play, especially since he can work in the short to intermediate areas of the field with all the weather condition concerns in Cleveland. Courtland Sutton has returned to practice in our wide receiver 2 spot. Sutton is dealing with a hamstring injury and is, according to head coach Nathaniel Hackett, quote, potentially available for this weekend's game against the Rams. Russell Wilson is returning to the lineup as well. Yay. Yeah. Woohoo. Broncos. Sutton hasn't had a 100-yard performance since week 2 and hasn't scored since week 4. While Jerry Jeudy's actually taken advantage of his absence with strong play in back-to-back games without Sutton. Now, Jeudy remains my preferred Bronco receiver as like a wide receiver 3, but someone coming back to siphon targets in this awful passing game doesn't exactly roast my chestnuts. I like that, so I'm going to keep using it, at least this week. Dallas does Dallas in our flex spot. The Eagles activated star tight end Dallas Goedert from injured reserve after a 5-game absence with a shoulder injury. Goedert will play this weekend against the Cowboys. Now, it'll likely be with backup quarterback Gardner Minshew. The read here is that Minshew is almost certain to start for the Eagles on Saturday afternoon, despite coach Nick Sirianni refusing to rule out Jalen Hurts with a shoulder injury. The Eagles invest in backup quarterbacks for this very reason. It's not like there's a famous instance of a backup quarterback in the Eagles, but, just speculating here. And further injury to Hurts would be hugely damaging for their Super Bowl chances. We've never seen a backup quarterback go in and win the Super Bowl, have we? Minshew is more than capable of throwing to the Eagles' high-end weapons if he's protected. I think the wind just blew my recycling can down the street, so I'm going to have to go catch that. Now, Minshew is more than capable of throwing to the Eagles' high-end weapons if he's protected, and Philly did a really good job keeping Hurts clean the last time these two teams played. Now, it's also worth noting that Goedert caught all 6 of his targets for over 100 yards and 2 touchdowns the last time he played with Minshew, when Hurts missed a game with a high ankle sprain last year. Minshew is absolutely a viable quarterback streamer this week, and Goedert is a TE1. Thanks, everybody, for joining me for this edition of the Fantasy Points Daily Lineup. And do not worry, fear not. If you're watching this and you are behind on your Christmas shopping, the Fantasy Points Super Early Bird Special, 30% off, is a great stocking stuffer, and it's also the cheapest it'll be all year for the entire 2023 season. That's what you get. If you subscribe now in December, you get the entire 2023 season. We do not do by year, we do by season. Every season expires in April of the following year. So if you subscribe to the Super Early Bird Special right now, you have access to fantasypoints.com through April 2024. Pretty good deal, right? Follow me on Twitter at FG_Dolan. Head to fantasypoints.com. And I'll catch you tomorrow, everybody.